I'm Zia Parker here at Willow Permaculture. Permaculture is a design method for creating regenerative patterns of human settlement. In permaculture, we aim at creating the stability and resilience that you find in natural ecosystems, but they also yield food. So permaculture is based on indigenous knowledge from around the world, coupled with techniques from modern technology. And it's taught in over 100 countries. There are estimated 12 million graduates of permaculture. So it really is a grassroots global movement in sustainability. So many people from different cultures around the world are taking the permaculture principles to heart, and then they're adding their own creativity and specific qualities of their homeland, and they're deriving fantastic systems that regenerate the earth and they help heal it rather than hurt it. The uniqueness of each land base, plus the needs of the life forms that are there, is what directs the design. There's no one right way to do permaculture. I've been involved in teaching permaculture for about 20 years, first in Africa, 2-year project in West Africa. Was involved in the teaching team in the Navajo reservation for a couple years, and an early project on the Arapaho reservation, and then taught in several courses here in Colorado. And more, I'm just so impressed with what people are doing with permaculture in so many diverse cultures and diverse landforms. And now that things are really changing in the world, and we're coming up on a lot of reasons why sustainability is becoming increasingly important, I'm increasingly involved. There are many ways that permaculture can support livelihood. It's permaculture consultants, permaculture teachers, creating financial permaculture community systems on a family level, and then everybody can be involved in growing food and reducing energy costs. So I want to tell you a little bit about where I'm coming from in Willow Way. So this story begins 2.5 years ago. I was teaching a method of healing therapy. It involves going into a really deep meditative state, and I was trying to focus on the course that I had suggested to the class, but this big willow tree kept appearing in my inner vision, and I kept trying to divert to the agenda, and finally I realized this willow tree was really visiting me, and that I needed to pay attention to it. And then it was the next day that my friend showed me this place, and I saw the willow in 3D physical reality for the first time. And I felt like something was trying to happen. This made a big impression on me. It just had the feeling of a spiritual assignment and something that I was being asked to do. So now Willow Way has become Boulder County's first official permaculture demonstration farm. And those of us that live here in a small community are working very hard to make it a really good model of sustainability. This tree has been here a very long time, longer than any non-indigenous people have been here. And I've developed a deep relationship with it, and I feel that a lot of information comes through it. And it's my teacher, this tree, the grandmother willow. We like to start with the 3 ethics of permaculture. The ethics are care for the earth, care for the people, and share the abundance. I think these ethics are really strong and they're hard to argue with. So in permaculture, we're going beyond let's not poison the land to systems that really regenerate the soil fertility and ecological building that doesn't deplete the resource base, and water purification through natural biological processes that are not energy intensive and they're not toxic. So permaculture also includes ideas for working with social structures and sustainable community design and financial development. It means forming relationships with the land that directly support the local economy, that is the economy of you and your family. In permaculture, we really aimed at focusing on the solutions rather than the problem. But I think it is important to give some attention to the problem. This is why so many people around the world are eager to learn more about permaculture and ways to bond with the earth again. This is a slide that shows a cubic mile of oil, which is roughly the amount of oil that is used globally per year by everybody and every use of oil. And next we come to what we would need to do in terms of creating new production plants for other forms of energy if we no longer had oil. And what that would mean is we would have to have 52 new nuclear plants, 91 million plus new solar panels, 32,000 plus wind turbines, 104 new coal-fired plants every year for 50 years just to make up 1 cubic mile of oil. So for a very long time, you know, in pre-industrial societies, the oil was there in the ground and we weren't using it. And then as the Industrial Revolution proceeded, we used oil at an ever-increasing rate. So now the projections are that we already have hit peak oil, which means we have come to that day that we have produced the most per day that ever will happen, and we are on the oil descent. This is something that some people, a small segment of the population, is busy preparing for adapting to that. And this slide is a really interesting one. You can see the blue jaggedy line on the left shows what annual discovery has been since 1930 when we started using a lot of oil, really just a blip on a screen in terms of human history. And then you see 2010, how discovery declines to almost zero very quickly. And then look at the green graph in the middle. This represents projected production, and production is on a steady downward decline. And then the red line in the back is annual demand. Well, annual demand has been climbing steadily, but the projected demand skyrockets over the next 2 or 3 decades. At this point, familiarity with the backdrop is common. Permaculture provides us with a really positive way to act for how to respond to the global scenario. We are the ones that we've been looking for. Permaculture is a design method for deriving the optimum formula for sustainability for any given place, be it rainforest, desert, urban, or rural. It's about adapting to the niche that you're in and getting the most out of it, considering both the needs of the planet and all the other species as well as you and your family. So at Willow Way we talk about the big P and the little p. The little p is the techniques. Permaculture provides a big umbrella that holds quite a broad spectrum of different sustainability techniques. Some of them come from vastly different cultures around the world and throughout time. But the big P is really the more important part, and that is the design method that provides for a highly integrated system where every element serves many functions. And the relationships provide for a very efficient synergy.
The design course is a transformational activity that really helps you get reconnected with your life, connected with other people, and connected with the plant and animal world. And so, you know, making those connections is subtle and challenging, but it's also very important. It's what we need to do to really shift the way we live on the planet. I really love permaculture because I'm a generalist, and I like to say that because I always meet other generalists when I say that, which is really neat. But we live in a specialist world that just forces us into these little narrow strata of work that we're supposed to do. But to be connected with this earth, we have to kind of move out into more of a generalist place so we can see what's in front of us and experience the plants and experience the animals and start to see the connections between things. Appropriate technology and green sustainable building. And appropriate technology is technology that's appropriate for the user and for the scale of use. And you know, so we teach people some of the basic techniques, the materials, formulas, things you need to know to do that. We can't cover every green building thing, but we can give you enough information that you can start knowing enough to make decisions and changing the way you might do things.
So much of our processes, chemical, biological, agricultural, all use water. Some communities now have purple pipe systems for when you take wastewater and treat it and reuse it. And that's a lot of what my business focuses on, is taking wastewater, cleaning it up and using it again, so that you get more life out of a single drop of water. Taking water and maximizing its usage and finding ways to enhance the synergies that it has with the things around us, right? Especially in the agricultural world.
With sheet mulching, we're adding the ingredients of composting on top of the ground. Attention is paid to moisture levels, to the carbon-nitrogen ratios being right, and the first step is putting down a compostable weed barrier, usually cardboard. So this is a good example of how permaculture mimics nature, and it's really effective. I've tried this in 5 different climate zones, and every time it works very well. I'm really sold on it. So the other thing that you need to do with sheet mulching is when you do it right, you set it up as a worm bin. Worms are really important in agriculture. Just the burrowings of worms can provide 5 to 11 times more nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium than the surrounding soils. Aquaponics is a new idea that permaculture has really embraced, and it is growing fish and plants in mutually beneficial relationships. So it's a type of guild. We do a lot with season extension. We have a short growing season. We have to be able to start our plants early and extend the growing season into the fall and even over the winter.
A variety of different remedial and health-giving and potentially fruit-producing functions. We like to get outside. We like to talk outside, be outside as much as possible. This is an example of using a commercially prepared inoculum that's really just a spore mass. And spores, in permaculture, we talk about working with small and slow solutions. And spores are about the smallest thing that we work with, or that I know of. You can fit 1,000 of them on the head of a pin. So we're going to introduce these spores into the area, water them in, let them germinate, and then they demand a relationship at the root level with the plant. And that exchange, that symbiotic exchange is taking place. Well, when we cut these plants off, the mushroom knows that its food source has gone, and so it immediately reproduces. And underground, it disseminates massive amounts of spores into the soil. So then we can take this soil and move it into the landscape, use it to work around the plants, use it in our potting soil for seed and plant starts. We can do all kinds of things with it and give the roots of the plants that we're working with that jump start.
Will Allen, Director of Growing Power in Milwaukee, which is growing food for 2,000 people on 3 acres in the city, says, "It's now conclusive. A food revolution has begun." Vandana Shiva, famous female activist from India, says that the greatest symbol of freedom and independence of our time is the simple act of saving seeds. Permaculture has created a front row seat in the food movement for millions of people worldwide. It's a grassroots, people's movement that is inspiring hope and new beginnings in people all over the world.